treat you well, let me know.
Oh, I will.
Well, Annie, I really want to thank you for coming on this month and talk about all the great things that Habitat is doing. I know it, you know it, right? And we and our staffs know it, but sometimes it's hard for the community to really know all the great things you all are up to. Really want to thank you for your investment in Hamilton, both from the homes, the improvement projects, the restore, just everything. Please do my best.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton, and now heard as well on FM at 107.3 FM, W297CL, Levittown.
This is On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, a weekly recap of your Philadelphia Flyers from blue line to blue line. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's, tonight's show is brought to you by Hand and Stone Spa, Pat Dion Beverages, The Capitol Grill, Chickies and Pete's, Payroll Service Solutions, and Independence Blue Cross. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Now, here are your hosts, former Flyer Brad Marsh and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome, everybody, to the beautiful Chickies and Pete's here in Audubon, Pennsylvania, on a beautiful little spring day here at the end of March. On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Paul Jolovitz. My co-host tonight, one of the great defensemen in Flyer history, whose headset is not working now apparently, but I'm right next to him so you can hear me say this. Mr. Brad Marsh, how are you, Brad?
Very good, very good. Thank you to be.
Sounds like it's working now.
Can you hear me?
Is it working now, Brianne? His headset working? Oh. All right. Try again. How are you?
I'm doing fine, but I still can't hear you or myself.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
We'll work on that.
No, it just cut out again.
Well, we introduce our guest. Our guest is a guy that I love having on this show. What hasn't he done in hockey? Well, I've never bought potato chips or a beer from him. He's done everything else. He's been a player, a coach, a general manager, the president of the team, consultant, won the Lester Patrick Award for meritorious service to hockey in the United States, a Flyer for over 40 years with every role imaginable. Mr. Paul Holmgren. Homer, how are you?
I'm great, Paul. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you, Paul.
Good to be here with Brad, too.
Yeah. Two of the big boys, the Flyers, in the late 70s and 80s. By the way, Brad, you had a Friday Night Fights thing about 3 or 4 weeks ago where we got Homer to do this show. One of the most fun things I've ever been to, just the days of the Broad Street Bullies and the days of physical hockey, celebrating it, brought people in from around the league. Full house. I'm sure a lot of money for Flyers charities. Kudos on an unbelievable job.
Yeah, it was a great night. We had our first one back in 2019, and then our second one was all set to go March 13th, 2020, but then the world come to an end with COVID. And we put it on hold, and you know what, too, is that night was sold out, and everybody that had bought tickets to the 2020 event, obviously we called them up and said, hey, we're happy to refund you. And they said, oh, no, just keep our money. You guys do such great things. Keep our money, and next time it comes out, just charge me again. So it ended up being a good fundraiser. So, but you know what? The main thing is it was lots of fun. Homer, lots of fun. And, all our alumni events are fun, so it makes it easy to promote the next one that comes around. But Barnaby was great, and Stu Grimson was great with Dave Brown, and the Flyer fans remember the Brownie in the rematch of they had 2 fights back to back. In the rematch match, Brownie broke his orbital bone and his cheekbone, and I've never heard someone describe getting the snot beat out of him so articulately as I just cut out again, so articulately as Stu Grimson did, and but it was a great night, and Flyer fans still hate Matthew Barnaby, so that's good to see.
Still hate Matthew Barnaby. Homer, that leads to the first question for you. You were a great power forward in your career. You played 10 years in the NHL before coaching 10 years and doing pretty much everything else for 10 or more years. If you could just fill in the blank in this sentence, obviously we've had eras of hockey where fighting was emphasized, de-emphasized, part of a team, not part of a team, playoffs, not playoffs. Fighting in hockey is what to you?
Well, it's still part of the game. I think there's a place for it and a time for it, and I think we've found that out. I mean, even though it's tried to go away, it's going away at a lot of minor league levels and junior levels now. But I think at the NHL, it will always be part of the game. And I think the players still want it part of the game because they want to. The accountability.
Themselves?
They want a little bit of accountability that falls on them and not on the referee or somebody else. So, I believe. Certainly to get through the regular season, you need a tough team. You need an aggressive team. The best teams are like that today. They have been for the last. Look at Tampa Bay. I mean, they won 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups. They were in it again last year, lost in the finals. They go out at the trade deadline and pick up another rugged power forward that can fight and kill penalties and score the odd goal from Nashville. So it's still part of the game, and I think it will be for a long time.
Brad, when you arrange the night, what does fighting mean to you? I mean, you played a tough physical brand of hockey. Holmgren was a power forward. They don't really have power defensemen, but if there were, you'd have been one of those, hard worker. Coining the term here. What does fighting mean to you in the NHL, then and now?
I agree with what Homer said. It's part of the game, and it always will be a part of the game, I hope. If you just sit in the stands at a hockey game, when do the fans get excited? Obviously when there's a goal scored, when there's a big hit, and when there's a fight. And so it's part of the special lore that we have about hockey. You watch the other pro sports, they're getting rough and tumble, but they don't do anything about it. And whereas hockey, men can decide or keep someone in line. Homer mentioned accountability. Perfect. Someone steps out of line, he's going to be held accountable by another player, not a referee's whistle.
And it's interesting, Homer, because you were your own bodyguard a lot of the time in the NHL. You created opportunity for yourself and space for yourself. How important was the physical part of your game, the fighting side, to creating space for the goal scoring side of Paul Holmgren?
Well, looking back, it was for me. I grew up in the United States, and hockey or fighting wasn't a big part of youth hockey in the U.S. I didn't play junior hockey in Canada like Brad did, where I think fighting is a little bit more of an element. I went up through high school, and I played junior hockey in the U.S. I played 1 year of college hockey before coming to the pros. So I basically had to learn how to. And there weren't a lot of Americans when I first came in either, so I took a lot of abuse. I mean, I joke about this, but we all call, when the Swedes started to come over, everybody called them chicken blank Swedes, right? Well, before the Swedes were over, they called all the Americans chicken blanks. So I sort of had to kind of earn my space and earn my place in the league through, not that I wanted to, but I just basically stand up for myself. And then I was fortunate and blessed enough to come to the Flyers and be part of a team that, had won Stanley Cups and being a family on the ice. We look after each other, we take care of each other, and I got great tutelage from obviously Clarkey and Billy Barber and Moose Dupont and Joe Watson, Jimmy Watson, Oris Kinrachuk, Gary Dornhofer was one of the guys that I pretty much followed around like a puppy dog.
He was your idol, wasn't he?
Yeah. First couple of years, I followed him around like a lost puppy. So, I look back and I guess I made some space for myself, but I was also on a team that, had a lot of space. So it was good for me.
As you listen to those names that Homer was reeling off,
Street Bullies,
and I think you could look at any pro sports team and any modern day team and say, do they have that number of and you could have named a number of other names as well. Do they have that number, that cast of characters, that number of names that would be a role model to a young kid coming into the franchise? And if the answer is no, then you better go out and restock your team, because that's what makes good teams, is names like that.
Yeah.
I got a question for both of you that probably is a stupid question. Won't be the first or 80th I've asked in my lifetime, but you talked about being an American. Brad's from Canada. I would never even think to ask a Canadian kid. If you were the guest, I would never ask you this question, but Homer's an American. The Stanley Cup is obviously the holy grail to hockey players. Everybody wants to get their name on it. But being an American, Homer, I don't think people understand. I'm not even sure I understand. The Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament that you were in as a kid, and then you played for the Stanley Cup later on. Excuse me if I'm asking the dumbest question ever, but what was a greater thrill for you at the time? Playing in the Minnesota State High School Tournament that draws sold-out crowds to Minneapolis, or playing for the Stanley Cup? I would never ask Brad this, but an American kid.
Yeah, it's probably pretty close, but I would much rather play for the Stanley Cup. But playing in the state tournament in Minnesota is it's a pretty big thing. I mean, there's 20,000 people there. It's on TV, in the Dakotas, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. So it's a big event, and very, very, very popular around middle of March every year. And I was lucky enough to play in it for my high school team 2 times as a junior and a senior, and those are memories that I still have. I still remember.
Did you win?
No.
And it still ticks you off.
Yeah.
Still
makes me mad. Yeah, man. We blew, like my senior year, we won our first game, and then it's a team we beat 3 times during the year.
Uh-oh.
Played in the semifinals, and we lost 4-1.
Yeah.
And that's still, I'm still.
See, I respect the heck out of that.
Same with me. I hear the Edmonton Oilers. It still makes my blood crawl, for heaven's sakes.
That's great. People who say, listen, it was back in the day, whatever. You were in high school. It's 40-some years ago. Brad.
My 50th anniversary is this October.
And you're still upset about it, and I respect the hell out of that. That's a winner. Yeah. That's a winner in life. You're a winner in life. It pisses you off that you lost forever ago. That's part of what makes these Flyers, isn't it?
I remember going into Minnesota when it was the Minnesota North Stars, obviously, and at that time they had fallen on, I don't know if hard times is right, but they weren't selling out, and it was kind of an easy win, if you will.
Yeah.
And you'd go in there, and I was always early to the dressing room, and you'd go in, and the place would be sold out, and it's like, what the heck is going on here? Oh, it's high school hockey. Like, come on, you're kidding me. And then they'd all go home, and then 10,000 people, if they're lucky, would come watch the NHL team.
Is it like Memorial Cup or anything? Is that a parallel at all in Canadian juniors?
Oh, I would think so. That's a good analogy. The Memorial Cup is a very special tournament up in Canada, but it is, Canada-wide for
that's nationwide.
Nationwide, and it's the three different junior leagues compete for that. Whereas Minnesota is people don't realize how huge hockey is in Minnesota, and same around the Boston area. Because everyone, when we broke in, you mentioned that there wasn't a lot of U.S. born players, but hockey was alive and well in Minnesota and Boston, just as it was alive and well in Canada.
Right.
Yep. Right. Then you came to Philadelphia, and it changed your life. I mean, what did moving to Philadelphia, obviously a long time ago, but that was a spark that lit the flame that produced a lifetime of everything for you, family, down in Avalon, everything. What was moving to Philadelphia like? The first day you came here, what were you thinking? And obviously, what are you thinking now, and what led it to be this way?
Well, a couple things stand out. You've heard the term Minnesota nice, right? So
sure.
if you're at a yield sign in Minnesota, you got people actually wave you in. But if you're at a yield sign around here, you got to be aggressive.
Yep.
Yeah.
To get in, and you got to give hand gestures and stuff like that. So I mean, but I I love this area. Obviously, I've made it my home. I love the passion of the fans here, the city, and the organization's been good to me. I mean, hockey, the Flyers have been a huge part of my life. They've given me pretty much everything, really.
Brad, Homer's one example of this, but we talk about the Flyers being a family. Your alumni group is like a family. Are the Flyers more of a family than most NHL teams, most professional sports teams? And if so, why?
Well, I think so, and you know, you've heard many people say it, and I've said it on this show many times, that it was a family, you know, and it was all a result of what Mr. Snyder did. And in the world of pro sports, there's not a lot of owners, singular owners of that pro sports team, especially now. A corporation owns them or a conglomerate owns them, whereas Mr. Snyder, he took a chance on investing in the NHL, and he grew up with the Philadelphia Flyers. And you know, his kids were the same age as myself, and so I was playing, and Jay was my boss for a couple of years. He was president for a couple of years, but you know, Lindy was around, and so
Lindy and I went to school together.
Oh, really?
Yep, at Penn.
Yep. There you go. So anyhow, it really was is because Mr. Snyder, it was his passion. He didn't have enough. I mean, he had lots of other businesses, but the Flyers were his business.
Baby.
So he was at the rink.
His baby.
Yeah, he was at the rink every day. He was at the practices. He came in the rink, and you know, he wanted to know what was good, what was wrong, what he could do differently. And the big thing is he listened to the players, and so it was there was always a mutual respect to Mr. Snyder and Mr. Snyder to the players.
Going to take a quick break now. Mr. Snyder obviously gone for 7 years now. Paul Holmgren's done every job in the world with the Philadelphia Flyers. We're going to find out the most difficult. We're also going to find out if Homer knows a fact about himself. What is that? Stay tuned. You're listening to On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, live from Chickies and Pete's right here on 1490 WBCB. It's time now for the Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Player of the Week. This week it's Morgan Frost with 3 goals and 4 assists in his last 5 games on this great homestand. Remember to choose Independence Blue Cross today and begin to live fearless. We'll live fearless with Paul Holmgren and Brad Marsh from Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, Pennsylvania. Come on up, say hi to these guys right after this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. It's all new and it's all for you. The heated deck at Chickie and Pete's on the Boulevard is now open. It's enclosed, heated, and perfect for the ultimate in-game experience or live music when the best local bands take the stage. Like LeComte, Fat Mez, or Jameson. Check our website for the band schedule. The heated deck at Chickie and Pete's on the Boulevard is now open every Thursday through Sunday. Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
Welcome back here to Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, PA, where the crowd going crazy, the noise is high, and we're having a great time here. It's time now for the Smart Stat of the Week, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That's 1-866-PAY-EASY. What a homestand it was for the Flyers. 5-1-1 in a 7-gamer. Better late than never, right? The young players starting to crack some eggs around here. That was your Flyers Smart Stat of the Week. Once again, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions, catering to the small and medium-sized business to handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY. We're here with Brad Marsh and our guest, Paul Holmgren. Mr. Holmgren, riddle me this. You had a 10-year career with the Flyers, 75 to 85, 10-year career in the NHL. You had a 10-year coaching career after that, 85 to 95. Did Paul Holmgren, A, score more goals, or B, win more games as a coach? I have the answer here. It's pretty close.
I don't have any idea, really. I would probably say, well, I don't know.
You won 161 games as a head coach.
Well, I don't think I scored that many goals.
144.
Oh, wow.
Plenty of both. What's your favorite thing? I mean, you've worn every hat in the world. What was your favorite thing to do with the Flyers?
Play. Not even close. Brad would say, like, if I could go back, I would give anything.
For one game?
Well, yeah, to play again. Anything.
Well, other than playing, then. I guess everybody's going to say playing. But
I'd like to play just for 1 2-week paycheck.
Are you jealous about that at all? The money's crazy?
No, I think anybody that's been involved in hockey, like I've been fortunate enough to I've been involved for a number of years. So I didn't make a lot of money when I played, like thinking back, but when I was playing, I thought I was making a lot of money.
Sure.
Like, I'm sure Brad did too. Like I remember my dad, he was so excited when I signed my first contract. Holy and my dad was a postal worker for 34 years after he got out of the war. He couldn't believe it. And I thought I cashed my first check playing in Johnstown in the old North American League. I walked away with a fistful of probably $5 bills. but I thought I was a millionaire, right? It was great.
Is there more love of the game? I know it's tough to compare sports, Brad, and teams, but it seems like there's a dyed-in-the-wool, pure love of the game that hockey players have that I'm not sure I could say goes across all athletic lines. Obviously, most people love the sport they play, but hockey, winning the cup, just the pure love of the game. Is it more in hockey, or am I making stuff up?
Well, I don't know. I don't really follow the other sports. I know the focus to win the Stanley Cup is ingrained in even the Europeans. They want to come here to win the Stanley Cup. Our Stanley Cup has history. The other trophies, I guess the NFL isn't at the Lombardi Trophy there, but the other trophies, it was created by a designer, and there's no meaning to it. There's no history to it. The Stanley Cup is the Stanley Cup, and worldwide they dream of winning it, and that's what separates our championship away from the other ones, I think.
Well, we're both probably biased too, right? We're going to say, and I'm not taking anything away from the other sports, but to win the Stanley Cup, and now you got to win 4 rounds.
Yep, 16 games.
Yeah, I mean, to me that's what separates the boys from the men right there, and that's why we're different than any other sport. It's maybe basketball's a little similar to that, but to win the Stanley Cup, you gotta climb up a mountain and take a lot of abuse along the way. And
beards are
it's
grown.
awesome.
Everything's done for Lord Stanley's Cup, a 2-month march, which the Flyers, unfortunately, this year will not be a part of. John Tortorella talked about the difficulty of the rebuilding year 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. Danny Briere installed as the GM as Chuck Fletcher lost his job. Homer, now that the Flyers are kind of in this admitted rebuilding era, Danny Briere's taking the reins. The draft coming up, obviously free agency, a lot of kids, a lot of injuries this year to Sean Couturier and others. Do you see a new era with the Flyers now in this rebuild that who knows how long it'll take? But you got the coach in place, you have a general manager in place. What do you feel with the Flyers now?
Well, I think I really like the direction they're going right now. I think, first of all, the coach came in, and if you look at last year, at the end of the year, like there was no real direction, in my opinion. Hiring John, him coming in, like we've made a complete turnaround as a team. I think last year I remember being at games where the other team was sort of laughing at us, and we weren't a good team. We weren't competitive. This year, I can count on maybe one hand the games that we weren't competitive in. We're not, we lose a lot of times because we're not as talented as the other team, but nobody outworks us. We're tough. We're aggressive. We stick together. We play like a team, and that's all on John Tortorella. Like he's done that. He's turned this team. He's turned the
culture around.
Yeah. The culture around where it's going to be much easier for us. I mean, let's face it, it's a long road, but it's going to be easier to face it when you have all these guys that are committed to what John has talked about and preached all year. So I'm excited about that. Some of the young kids have been very good.
Forster's been great lately.
Forster's been great. Tippett's been great. Morgan Frost has been a lot better. I really still like our defense. I really do. Ristolainen's, like he looks like a completely different player.
Put him in the power play about a month
now
ago.
than he did early in the year. So there's a lot of and we have good goaltending. Not only Carter Hart, but the young kid in Hershey, Sam Urson, is going to be a really good goalie as well. So there's lots to look forward to. There's a lot of work to do. Danny's in there as interim GM. I hope he's the guy. He's certainly talking like it. He's acting like it, which is a good thing. I think he's smart. I think he knows the market. He knows what Flyers hockey's all about. He's played it. So I'm excited. I really am.
Brad, Danny obviously taking the interim role that Homer talked about from Chuck Fletcher, has kind of prepared for this ever since he retired. He ran the Maine Mariners of the ECHL. Are you excited to have Danny Briere as the general manager heading this rebuild? I assume you are, and if so, why?
Well, not really, because he can't play for our alumni now. We need young. Even though he's old in NHL years, he's young in alumni years. We need that swift
Why can't he
speed
play?
skater. Well, he'll be busy traveling and all that kind of stuff. But no, obviously I say that in jest. No, I think it's great. I'm very biased. I like when a homegrown kid, player, or whomever takes the reign, because as Homer touched on, he knows what Flyer hockey is. He knows what Flyer mystique is, and so that makes a difference when you're sitting at the draft table and you get whatever 8, 9, 10 picks or whatever it is. All the stats are the same for all the players, but that's where he'll get in some. He'll keep our scouts, get new scouts in, but they'll start looking for the intangibles of what is going to make this player different than the next player, and it'll come down to Flyer hockey. And so, as Homer said, I think everybody's excited about it. Will we be in first place next year? I'm not so sure, but we're heading in the right direction. Not only are we a better team on the ice, more importantly, we're a better team in the dressing room. That's what we've been lacking.
And upstairs, Homer, the top job just taken. Dave Scott retiring as of July 1st, I guess, and Dan Hilferty used to run the Independence Blue Cross, who sponsors this show. Lifelong Philadelphia sports fan, very competent executive. I say, a lot of people say it drips from the top. No matter what you do, the organization starts, obviously, with Mr. Snyder forever. You probably know Dan Hilferty more than a bunch of us do. What does Dan bring to the table?
It's been very limited, my time with Dan, since he's kind of come on board. But, he's just he's an easy guy to talk to for me. He doesn't know a lot about hockey. He wants to learn. He knows a lot about running businesses, which is good. But he's willing to, put people in positions to do their job. And that's so I think we talk about Danny being the interim GM. Hopefully Dan I think he's going to be the guy that picks the GM and then hires whatever, and then lets the new GM do his job and hire the people that he wants to hire moving forward. But Dan is he's a real sharp guy. In the limited time I've had talking to him, and I'm excited. Coming off the conversation I've had with him, I'm very excited about him coming in and taking over.
And Brad, Paul, both of you guys are Flyer lifers. Any Ouija board stuff? The lottery on May 8th for the first pick in the NHL draft. Flyers are among the teams, obviously, out of the playoffs. They're in this lottery. Connor Bedard, most people say, is a prize, although Adam Santilli from Michigan and a couple other guys are regarded as nearly generational players. Anything special you guys are doing to help the Flyers land that number one pick?
Well, we're not doing anything. I just hope it turns out better than the last time we had the second pick.
Yeah, it didn't go so well. Paul Holmgren's our guest. We're going to take a break in a quick second, but I just want to know, I've had you on the show before and never asked you this. Did you ever have a guy come to you, Homer? Obviously, as a general manager, you're the conduit between the ownership and the players and the agents, and you run a million things. You ever a player ever come to you with a demand so great that you looked at the agent or the player, who knows, and said, "Are you bleeping insane?" Did you ever? We hear about the sides being far apart, or it could be a free agent or whatever. But did you ever have something where the other side was asking for something so ridiculous you didn't even know how to counter that? You don't have to name names if you don't want to.
I don't remember saying that out loud. I think I thought it a few times.
I'm paying this guy that much?
It's
there's a lot of obviously a lot of interesting stuff that comes up.
How hard is it, though, Vinny Bombats, my generic Joe Average type player, you want Vinny Bombats to do very well, but then when negotiations come up, you got to tell Vinny Bombats' agent what he doesn't do so well. How hard is that for a GM to be a fan on one side, but a critic on the other side, and you're on the same side?
You kind of say in the back of your mind, have a good year, kid, just not a great one.
That's true. It's what you have to do.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you want your players to do well, and the system normally dictates how much you pay them anyway. Like, it's the way it is now. There's not a lot of mistakes made with the length of contracts. Put that aside. Sometimes we overpay in terms of years, but the money is usually not very often you overpay the guy. He's usually paid what he's worth, or certainly what the market's going to dictate.
There must have been some agents that you just hated to deal with, huh? There's so many of them in the game now.
You know what? I was talking to Danny Beer the other day, and he mentioned I think it's a player on our team. He represented by this one agent that I had. I haven't talked to him since there's an incident that happened with this particular agent over our player, and I haven't talked to him since. So I said, be careful with that guy, because if they do something, we all want to do, like, not win the negotiation, but make a good deal, right? That's fair for both sides. And something happened with this player's agent. I don't want to go into too many details because it's probably boring, but the agent lied. He lied to me.
What would you do, though, if you were still the GM and that agent had another client, and now you're not talking to him, he's not talking to you, and now he comes to you with another? What happens in that case?
Well, I guess it depends on the situation, but you try to work it out, or if you can't, you get your assistant to kind of get it to a certain point and see how it goes. But it would be difficult. I'll be honest, it would be difficult.
All right, a man for all seasons. Paul Holmgren is our guest tonight. Terrific time here at Shakey's and Pete's in Audubon. Got plenty of people here enjoying TVs. The atmosphere, Masters right around the corner. Paul Holmgren was a big golfer. Brad Marsh also a hole-in-one last week, I understand.
What?
No? It's like me with a hole-in-one. It's okay to dream. When we get back, we're not dreaming. The Flyers are all of a sudden hot. The end of the season, better late than never. Why are they so hot? We'll talk to Brad and Paul about that. This team all of a sudden catching fire. If it could continue through the offseason, that would be great. We will see. Back with Independence Blue Cross on the ice right after this. Stay with us, folks.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. It's all new and it's all for you. The heated deck at Chicky and Pete's on the Boulevard is now open. It's enclosed, heated, and perfect for the ultimate in-game experience or live music when the best local bands take the stage. Like LeComte, Fat Mez, or Jameson. Check our website for the band schedule. The heated deck at Chicky and Pete's on the Boulevard is now open every Thursday through Sunday. Chickies and Pete's.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
If you are looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
And we're back here at Chickies and Pete's in Audubon with Paul Holmgren and Brad Marsh. And Paul Holmgren has won the most prestigious award a hockey personality can win in the United States, the Lester Patrick Award for meritorious service, Paul, to hockey in the United States, named after a great hockey, wearer of all hats, actually, with the New York Rangers for years and years and years, Lester Patrick. What's it like to win that award, and what kind of honor was that? Where does that rank in your life?
Well, I was at a NHL meeting when Gary Bettman came up and told me that I was going to receive that award. So that was, I was shocked. It was a tremendous honor. I look at the list of people that have won that previously, and obviously since that time, it's to be considered up with those people in terms of winning that award is phenomenal, and just an honor that it's an unbelievable honor. It really is. It's
not an NHL award, it's a hockey award, I guess, as a whole. But that has to make your heart warm. I mean, you grew up in Minnesota, obviously an American. You said your dad worked at the post office for 34 years. And this award is for meritorious service for hockey in the United States. Hockey has grown in the United States markedly in your lifetime. How does it feel to be a little part of that, and maybe more than a little part of that?
Yeah, well, you know what? When I was telling, I was at the game on Saturday, the Flyers game, and when I look at the game sheet and they, you know, it's got the Flyers and then whoever their plans on the other. Whenever I always look and I see how many American flags there are. That's the first thing I look for. See how many guys are born in the United States that are playing the NHL, because the number continues to grow. I don't think it's growing as fast as it should, and I'm not exactly sure why. But we have, you know, in this country, we have more young people playing hockey than any other country, obviously, by a large amount. So we should have more. It only makes sense that we should have more in the NHL. So
more people.
We need to do something better to spurn that on, or something different. But the U.S. National Development Program has been a big boost to hockey in the U.S. in terms of producing NHL players, but we still can do more just because of our vast numbers playing the game.
Brad, you can't grow up in two places at once. You grew up in Canada near London, Ontario. If you had a kid and somebody said your kid has a certain amount of talent, it's going to be developed in a certain way. You can grow up in London, Ontario, or Minneapolis, Minnesota. What do you think is the better path? Is Homer correct about the numbers not translating into as many numbers? Is there a reason for that?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. And you know, when I grew up, the game was much simpler, and you just I played for Southwest London Bobcats. You know, my corner of Little London, and you know, most of my hockey in the early years was just played on a pond. Obviously, that era is long gone. But I still believe that if you're good enough, they'll find you. It doesn't matter where you're playing, where you're living, and who you're playing for, et cetera, et cetera. If you're good enough, a scout will find you at some point in you know, or somewhere, or at some rink, somewhere along the line. And so the way I look at it now is the U.S. and the Canadian hockey players, we're on par. You know, we're equal, and both countries have done an unbelievable job. U.S. caught up real quick, and they've just done a tremendous job over the years. And you look, even like St. Louis, one year they had 5 first-round picks out of St. Louis minor hockey, and just a phenomenal minor. And they're doing the same thing in the women. A lot of the women players from the national team are coming out of that St. Louis minor hockey system there, and it's a lot of good. And I can't get over, like, when you read, this player was drafted first pick for in the first round, and he played in Phoenix. Austin Matthews come out
first
of Phoenix.
Overall pick.
First overall pick. And then he grew up in Florida, and he grew up in whatever.
Costa Spear came from Florida.
Yeah, and that's what's mind-boggling to me when you start hearing like the minor hockey kids coming from non-traditional hockey markets. So that's
I think a lot of that is expansion. That's one thing, you know, Gary Bettman, people. He's a lightning rod, right? Like, he's either hate him or you love him. Probably more hate than love, but he has the expansion has been good for that. It's brought hockey to these vast areas in the U.S. and I think, you know, some of that has had an impact on players that are drafted from those areas. I will, just as a follow up to what Brad's talking about. Most Canadian kids that are hockey players dream of playing in the NHL. And I don't know if that's true of American kids growing up. Maybe
where else would they want to play?
Well, maybe they want to play in college for their college team or something like that. But, you know, and there's maybe they don't even want to play hockey. Maybe they want to play baseball. Like when I got out of high school, I wanted to play baseball. I didn't want to play hockey. I thought I was.
Were you drafted?
No, but
a pretty good baseball player, I assume.
I liked baseball. It was my favorite sport at the time, but things worked out differently. I'm not going to complain how they turned out for me, but I think it's a lot of its mentality in Canada to this day. I think that's why they kind of hold a little sway over the U.S. in that regard. But well, like I said earlier, I think we're catching up.
Okay, we're a hockey nation, even though we have the Raptors and we have the Blue Jays. Yeah. We're a hockey nation. And period.
Yeah.
And I know
it's Canada's game, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's Canada's game, but it's the world's game, and the Flyers coming up in this draft. Who knows what pick they'll have? A high pick in the lottery. Last year, the 5th pick took Cutter Gauthier, an American who plays at Boston University. Obviously, Nolan Patrick, Brad referring to back in 2017 when Cale Makar came out. You miss with high picks, it costs you for years. how important is it, Homer, for the scouts to dredge out the Cutter Gauthiers and the young kids, so in this rebuild, whatever you want to call it, the Flyers can get the talent and acquire the talent to beat people simply by talent and working hard? How hard is it to find those kids? And you said they come from everywhere. Like right now, toward the draft, we always talk about the NFL draft. The NHL draft, a month and a half or so, Flyers have scouts scouring the world for these kids, correct?
Yes.
And what do you think of Cutter Gauthier last year? 5th pick in the draft, played in the World Junior team?
I'd only seen him play a couple times, but I know our guys like everything about him. I've seen him at our development camp. Great size, great skater, physical, good skills with the puck. I don't think there's any question he's got a chance to be a good player for the Flyers. I know I just read the other day that he's decided to go back for another year, which is in college, which is not a good thing. I mean, not a bad thing. It's probably a good thing for his development. He just turned 19.
Yep.
So, it's the one thing I will say about the draft. Like you brought up Cale Makar, and he was the 4th player taken the year the Flyers had the 2nd pick, and it's easy to look back, right? Like
sure.
Hindsight is always 20/20. Yep. When the Flyers drafted Nolan Patrick, coming out of that, like even though he didn't play much that year because of injuries and mononucleosis and stuff like that, the year before he was clearly the best young player, like on everybody's list. So the Flyers make a bad selection. In hindsight, it just didn't pan out for whatever reason. But they did their homework, made the pick. It didn't turn out. It's too bad.
And the other kid, Brad, the 1st pick that year was either Patrick or Nico Hischier, who's now the captain of the Devils, but won't be confused with Wayne Gretzky anytime soon. Sometimes you have late bloomers, late developers, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 12th, 199th picks, Tom Brady. I mean, the draft is basically a crapshoot. You may get lucky, you may not. Obviously, it's a batting average thing. The more you hit, and the Flyers have to start hitting on some, obviously.
No, that's no question about that.
Yeah.
No question.
I mean, you see kids like Owen Tippett, deal made last year, in the Claude Giroux trade. Kiefer Bellows starting to play better. Morgan Frost, Cam York. Who are the kids you look at when somebody says nucleus of the Flyers going forward?
Just take Tippett for example. I mean, there was a lot said at the time that our hands were tied when we, because Drew only wanted to go here, and what could we get? Well, that's where our pro scouting staff come in, and they did an unbelievable job because it looks like Tippett is the real deal. Like, he was a 1st-round pick many years ago, and he couldn't crack the Florida lineup, and so there's all kinds of players like that. So, your pro scouts are just as important as your junior scouts, in my opinion. And so Tippett's going to be a Flyer for quite some time, and so we got a draft pick as well with the Drew deal.
1st-round pick, not till next year, but
and so the pro scouts earn their money there because they watched Florida. When he said, I'm only going here, well, they watched their lineup, and they could have requested one of their star players, but no, they zeroed in on him, and he looks like he's going to be a player.
All right, when we come back, we'll find out Carter Hart's not able to play in the World Championships of hockey because of a strange thing that happened a few years ago. Otherwise, Flyers not in the playoffs. A couple guys will play in the World Championships. Everybody getting ready for next year. We'll find out who Homer and Brad think are the nucleus of this young team that hopefully Danny Briere can beef up and win a cup down the road. 48 years from 75 to 23. That's the year Paul Holmgren started in the NHL. He's our guest tonight on Independence Blue Cross on the Ice with our co-host Brad Marsh. Final segment from Audubon, Pennsylvania follows this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. It's all new and it's all for you. The heated deck at Chicky and Pete's on the Boulevard is now open. It's enclosed, heated, and perfect for the ultimate in-game experience or live music when the best local bands take the stage. Like LeComte, Fat Mez, or Jameson. Check our website for the band schedule. The heated deck at Chicky and Pete's on the Boulevard is now open every Thursday through Sunday. Chickies and Pete's.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
I found out something a couple minutes ago during the break that I am truly shocked at. I know both these guys had grandchildren, but neither Paul Holmgren or Brad Marsh is exactly Methuselah. Homer has 9 grandchildren. Brad Marsh has 7. What's it like following all those little rugrats around, Brad?
Tiring. No, it's great. It's great. I got 3 that live around the corner from us in New Jersey, and then the other 4 live up in 2 live in Calgary and 2 live in Ottawa. So we get to see them all of them on a regular basis. Obviously, the New Jersey one's a little more, and but it's just so much fun, and it keeps you young.
Homer, you have a grandchild in college? It's almost impossible to...
My oldest, Hannah,
What?
granddaughter, she's a freshman at the University of Minnesota, my old school. She lives in the same dorm I was in on the same floor.
She do the same...
It's unbelievable.
Wow. Just by total chance?
I guess.
Wow. So 9 grandchildren, any prospects among them? In any sport, not just hockey?
You know what? So far, yeah. Well, you never know. I mean, I got the 2. I got 3 that are around here up in Bucks County, and the 2 boys there are good little athletes. But they're 6 and 5. So who knows?
Plenty of ways to go. Any years, Brad?
No, my 7 are all under the age of 5 or 6, so they're just youngsters. They're active as anything. Oh, holy moly, they go from sun up to sundown. But no, it's all great, and we'll see what the future brings for them.
That's a great thing. Homer and I share a love of a certain place. You have a place at Avalon. My wife Amy and I have had places there forever and ever and ever. Not exactly Minneapolis, the Jersey Shore. How long did it take you to fall in love with the Jersey Shore, the opportunities around Philly, and what does Avalon mean to you?
Well, my wife's from Reading, so I kind of was forced into the Jersey Shore. Growing up in Minnesota, you're kind of used to going to lakes and stuff in the summertime. So the ocean was a big step for me, but I love it now. I love to fish anywhere, and you know that's a place where all our grandkids come in the summer. So it's kind of like our gathering place. So it's great in that respect.
All right, guys, just got a couple minutes. Homer, if you'd like to go first. If somebody said the Flyers, whatever you want to call it, I mean, we get caught up in words and terms, but are going to be better next year with John Tortorella than this year, and hopefully better than that in a couple of years, and injuries and other things and luck. plays a role. That's with every team everywhere. Somebody said, who's the nucleus of the Flyers going forward right now? What would you say?
Well, a lot of it's still in flux, in my opinion, but some of the guys that have come to the forefront this year, I think obviously the goalie, Carter Hart. I think Ivan Provorov's quietly had a good year. Sanheim's been better lately. I think Ristolainen's been very good lately. They're all young guys. They're all big guys. They can all play a lot of minutes. And then up front, obviously Tippett. I think, Coots will come back next year as a healthy player, and I think he'll be. I'm not saying he's a cornerstone of the franchise or anything like that, but we forget because we haven't seen him for so long what a good player he is, and I think he'll jump right in and be fine. He'll have the opportunity to come into training camp and work at his game through training camp and through the first part of the season, and by the middle of the year he'll be a good player again. And the guy that I really like on the Flyers is Noah Cates. He's quiet. He's quietly just a very well-rounded player.
And Brad, it's interesting that Homer says that. Noah Cates is one player that I don't want to say never about anything, but John Tortorella, I've never heard him criticize Noah Cates. And if he can't find anything wrong with your game in his micromanaging style, which I think is great, that says something about you, the player. Noah Cates is like a 20-year veteran young kid. I mean, those are very rare in sports, aren't they?
Well, I don't know him. I've never met him. I've watched him. He just works hard. Yep. And there's not a coach alive that will ever criticize a player that works hard. And the thing is, too, is Homer mentioned Coots. And the thing that the casual hockey fan doesn't realize that when we get Coots back on the ice, all of a sudden we win, 20% more draws?
More face-offs.
And so then we have control of the puck. Yeah. And right now, we're chasing the puck.
Yep.
And, the players they're too skilled now. And you're chasing the puck, they're going to pick you apart eventually, and that leads to more scoring chances. And so Coots' presence on the ice is going to be huge next year. And I'll bet you Noah Cates, he's not a centerman. That's what, once again, people don't realize can you play center? Sure. Coach, put me in. And he'll work over the summer, and he'll be a better centerman on the face-offs next year. Because, you just don't become a good face-off person. There's a knack to it and years of training.
How about the assistant captain this year where nobody's wanted to see? Scotty Lawton had a quiet hell of a year, hasn't he, Homer?
Yeah, he has. And he's another guy that, Brad mentioned, the coach. Not many coaches criticize or have a tough time with players that work hard. Scotty's always been a hard worker. He's a unique player in that he can play in a lot of different positions for you. He can play left wing, he can play center, he can play right wing, he can play in your top line, he can play in your any other line on it. He's a kind of like a Swiss Army knife. But he's got good speed, and he's a character kid.
They probably would have had a lot of calls for him at a deadline.
Yeah.
Well, over the last 3 years or 4 years.
Yeah, because people want him in the dressing room. They want him on the ice.
We just got a second left. I want to ask you this question as a former general manager, Homer. We always hear about, my personal opinion, that nobody's untouchable, that saying somebody's untouchable just closes your mind, and if somebody calls for that John Gotti offer that you can't refuse, just have the open mind to say yes. Is anybody untouchable with this team? Did you ever think anybody, when you were the GM, truly couldn't be traded for? Obviously, if you get calls, I'll give you McDavid and so-and-so. Was anybody ever untouchable to the point where you wouldn't even listen, or did you have an open mind for everybody?
Yeah, sometimes the contracts get in the way.
Yeah.
Where players are untouchable because of the contract they have. So,
like Kevin Hayes this year.
Maybe they just. I don't know. I don't know any specifics, but there'll be lots of movement this summer. I think, not just with the Flyers, but around the league because of salary cap issues. Everybody has them. Cap's not going up a lot. Everybody's got to try to make a square peg into a round hole. So
a lot of people are saying let's go trade Carter Hart. Like, look at the history of the Flyers. We've had Bernie Perrant, Pelle Lindbergh, and Ron Hextall. We're dying for a goalie. We got one. Why would we give him away?
Yep. Brad, this is your last show of the year. It's been a blast hosting with you again this year. Many years. I wish you the best of luck with the Warriors, the charity team you coach. Flyers Carnival, all kinds of great things that everybody here does, and wish you the best of luck over the summer and the best of luck. Let's do it again next year.
We'll see you around. We'll see you around.
Our guest, Paul Holmgren, who's phenomenal and has played many roles and worn many hats and done it all very well. He won the Lester Patrick Award homer. Best of luck to the Flyers down the road, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you very much. We appreciate Brianne O'Neill producing this show. Keith Noonan back at the station. Next week we'll be at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill. We'll have Broad Street bully Jim Watson with us. For Paul Holmgren, my co-host Brad Marsh, I'm Paul Jolovitz for Independence Blue Cross on the Ice. Thanks for everybody for coming out. See you next week. And to everybody else, go Flyers!
You've been listening to On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of 1490 WBCB and heard around the world at WBCB1490.com.